Hi, my name is Tobi, and this is the first of two Eldfall Chronicles Let's Plays. Eldfall has two game modes. The first is PvE, so you're playing against the game. This one can be played in co-op or solo. And the second is PvP, so you're playing against other players. For my first match, I'll show you the PvE mode. And I'm playing the scenario Break-In. My goal is to break through the door at the other end of the battlefield. And once done so, escape through it. I can try to do this with force or with a little bit more finesse. The local monster population doesn't really like this, and two gargoyles and two golems are standing in my way. Please be aware that I am using proxy miniatures for the monsters, as the official minis have not yet been produced. My time limit for this mission is 5 rounds. My team from the shadowy coalition of Thalion is led by a Nightshade assassin, followed by a Rangers Guild hunter, and a Therian swashbuckler. The swashbuckler is deployed on the right side. The ranger is deployed on the left in the shrouded state thanks to his stealth ability. And the Nightshade has used her infiltration abilities to deploy further down the field. I start the game with my active turn. Each of my fighters receives activation points equal to his or her stamina. And the same goes for the monsters. I can use my activation points to make actions, and the monsters can use theirs to make reactions. I start my turn with a tactical phase, and my Nightshade can use one of her stratagems. I choose Swift Retreat for an additional movement for all of my models at the end of the turn. My ranger spends one activation point to activate. He could now move, but decides to stand still, and as his action, he takes a shot at the next gargoyle. This action reveals him from the shrouded state, and his attack becomes a surprise attack. The gargoyle reacts with his standard reaction dodge. I now roll a number of dice equal to the strike value of my weapon. And I have to roll equal to or below my accuracy value. But both shots miss. If one or both shots would have hit, the gargoyle could have used his dodge action to cancel them. But he would have had to roll equal to or below his halved agility. Even though the dodge failed, the gargoyle can now make a movement up to half his speed value. I use the second activation point to fire again at the gargoyle, who again dodges. And this time I hit with a 1 and a 2, which both count as critical hits, because the ranger belongs to the assassin class. The dodge would also be successful. Critical hits ignore successful dodges. Now I have to do a damage roll with a power equal to my toughness of 10. I can also use my combat art Assassination 1 to add +6 to the power of the weapon. Due to the critical hit, the gargoyle has no armor now, so I simply have to roll below my now power of 16. One hit is successful and does 1 point of damage, which is enough to kill the gargoyle. I now activate my swashbuckler. I use one activation point for his dash skill. The swashbuckler moves up to twice his speed, followed by a strike 1 melee attack at his destination. The gargoyle reacts with a dodge. For close combat, I use the offense value of the swashbuckler, and I need a 15 or lower. The attack hits, but is dodged by the gargoyle. Both models are now in the engaged state, which means that they can't freely move except for dodges and can't easily be shot at. The swashbuckler activates again, does not move, and attacks the gargoyle, this time with 2 strike dice. The gargoyle also again dodges, my attack hits twice, and the dodge fails. I now have to roll below my power of 10 minus the armor of 4 of the gargoyle. So I need a 5 or lower to do damage. Again, I do 1 point of damage and kill the gargoyle. Now my Nightshade activates and does her special flicker movement through the wall. She uses no action, so she isn't revealed. And for her second activation, she does the same thing again. We are now in the end phase of my active turn. I can make my free stratagem movements. The swashbuckler moves out of line of sight of the golem. The Nightshade moves into contact with the door. And the ranger moves towards the tree in front of him. Now all models on the field regain their activation points, including the monsters. And now the roles are reversed. The monsters are in their active turn and I am in my reactive turn. The first golem activates and sees my ranger. So according to his behavior rules, he runs toward me with double his speed value of 3. I react with my ranger and shoot at the golem. And the golem can't do anything because he forfeited his action for his run special movement. As this is a reaction attack, I only have a strike value of 1, but the shot connects. The golem has an armor value of 8, so with my power of 16 I need a 7 or lower to do damage, which I fail to do. The golem activates again and runs again, which triggers another reaction shot, which misses. The second golem doesn't see any of my models, so for his first activation he turns around, but he still doesn't see anyone, as my nightshade is in the shrouded state, so he turns right back around. This is the end of round 1, and I switch back to my active turn. This time the nightshade uses her stratagem exploiting weakness, and she aims it at the right golem. I now can reroll damage rolls against him. By the way, I am actually using the official activation tokens for my stratagem tokens, just so you don't get confused by my mistake. And then I activate my nightshade and try to open the door. For this I have to use an action and pass an agility test. With her agility of 16, it's no problem at all. And the door swings open. Now I only have to escape. My swashbuckler activates and makes another dash towards the golem. And the golem reacts with an attack. Both dice are rolled against each other, and I'm using my offense of 15 and the golem his defense of 13. I also use the fencing combat art of the swashbuckler to reduce the value of the golem by 3. So it's 15 versus 10, and I win the roll. However, against the golem's armor, I need a 1 to wound, and I fail. I try again with my reroll, but the golem's armor is too thick. I try again, this time with my full strike value of 2. All rolls are successes, and the golem's 6 cancels my 4, so I'm left with 1 hit, which doesn't do damage. My ranger activates and shoots at the other golem, who makes a dodge reaction. I do 1 critical and 1 regular hit. The critical wounds on a 15 and wounds, and the regular hit fails. The golem receives 1 wound and dodges towards my archer. For my second activation, I first make a move away from the golem, and then I fire 1 more time. And again, the golem dodges. This time I score 2 regular hits, but the golem successfully dodges and cancels both hits. And again, he moves closer to my archer. The nightshade uses her second activation to run into contact with the golem, and she manages to stay inside his back arc where he can't see her. As the archer belongs to the ranger class, he can now make a free movement at the end of the turn. I use this to move him further away from the golem. And now I again switch to my reactive turn. The golem activates and attacks the swashbuckler, who in turn reacts with an attack. And the nightshade also reacts with an attack. The swashbuckler uses his second fencing skill to reduce the strike value of the golem by 1. I first do the confrontation between the swashbuckler and the golem. The golem has an offense of 10 and the swashbuckler a defense of 10. And the swashbuckler wins. I again need a 1 to wound and fail, but my stratagem is still active, so I reroll, and this time I make it. The golem suffers 1 wound. Now the nightshade attacks unopposed, and she uses her level 4 assassination combat art, so that all of her hits count as critical hits. She needs a 17 or lower and still misses. However, she has the dual wield skill, so she can reroll, and this time she hits. I need a 7 or lower, and the damage roll is successful, so the golem suffers a second wound. and he now turns toward the Nightshade. For his second activation, the golem attacks the Nightshade, who is now in front of him, and she also reacts with an attack. And the Swashbuckler does the same. The golem has offense 10 and the Nightshade has defense 8, but she still wins. And she manages to inflict another wound, which is enough to destroy the Gargoyle. The remaining golem activates and runs into contact with my archer, who in turn reacts with a shot. He manages to do a critical hit, which does another point of damage. Now the golem attacks the archer, who reacts with a dodge. The dodge is successful, but one of the hits is a critical hit. The golem needs a 14 or lower to incapacitate the archer, but he is very lucky and survives the attack. My lucky ranger dodges out of the engagement. This concludes my second round, and now I only have to escape with all my fighters. My ranger uses his 2 action points to escape through the door. And his companions both do the same. Another job well done. On to the next one. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Please remember that the rules shown here are a work in progress, so a lot can and will change. The scenario played is just a short and simple introductory mission. In the finished game there will be several more extensive and connected PvE scenarios with scalable difficulty. Be sure to also check out my second Let's Play video, in which I introduce the PvP mode and the magic-gifted fighters of the Sand Kingdoms. Until then, take care and thanks for your support.